read something, there's a lot that's going on. But keeping the establishment perpetually off balance may well be the prevailing vibe over the next 4 years. And I think that that is exactly what we're going to see, which means a whole lot more volatility and a whole lot more chance for an error in judgment to take place. And how about those unintended consequences to rear their ugly heads? Never has it been more important for you to make sure that you have security in all of the mantra: food, water, energy, security, barterability, which we know for me is primarily silver, wealth preservation, community, arguably the single most important part of this, and shelter. We need to take these matters into our own individual hands, come together in local community to help us create that security that we need no matter what we're doing. And what are the central banks doing for it? Well, they bought $96 billion worth of gold. But make sure that you give us a like. Go ahead and subscribe if you're not already. And of course, share. Because quite honestly,
Never a borrower nor a lender be. And don't forget, stay out of debt. Listen and take this good advice from me. Protect your solvency. And there's just one more thing you need to do. Buy gold and silver too.
It kind of makes sense for you to become your own central banker, doesn't it?
Talk about the failure of the dollar. I'm Lynette Zang, Chief Market Trading student, a banker, and a stockbroker. After all, the dollar's been around since you were born. In fact, that according to the Federal Reserve, there is only 3 cents of purchasing power left in the U.S. dollar. The FDIC only has a little more than 1 penny in reserve for every insured dollar in the FDIC insured banks. The money of the U.S. began to transition in 1813. Governments and corporations had 2 key goals. Number 1, governments wanted to be able to tax the public invisibly and without legislation. And number 2, corporations wanted to pay employees less, but they had to do it invisibly. Building inflation into the currency accomplishes both those goals. 20th of an ounce of gold coin, which is about half the size of my pinky fingernail, or this 1 ounce silver, or a dollar bill. All of them at that time would buy 11 loaves of bread. Either be a dollar, maybe it buys a quarter of a loaf. The silver dollar still buys you 11 loaves of bread. The $1 gold coin buys you, the last time I checked, about 135 loaves of bread.
Comes about. It kind of makes sense for you to become your own central banker, doesn't it? Today we have to talk about the debt ceiling danger that's coming up and the big battle that's looming there. It doesn't matter whether it's a Republican or a Democrat. When the debt ceiling comes due, the debt ceiling comes due. And what you're looking at here is the longest U.S. government shutdown in history, going all the way back to 76 is the about. It kind of makes sense for you to become your own central banker, doesn't it? Yep, earliest one. And let's see, there wasn't a government shutdown before the 70s when we were on at least a quasi-gold standard. That's interesting. But President Trump holds the record for the longest government shutdown in history, 35 days in 2018 into 2019. And in March, this battle royale picks up again. And so it is quite clear that anything will be used. And what does that exactly do? Because frankly, shutdowns are always just a waste of money and time. What they're saying is we spent all this money, but we're not going to pay for it. So you know that debt ceiling has to be raised, especially with all the debt that has to be issued to fund all of the programs that they want to do. So they can use it as a negotiation tool and they can use it as a threat. And I think that's what we're really seeing here. But it could pack a huge punch. And remember, what we don't know is what is that one little thing going to be that's going to topple everything and create that next crisis. Senate Republicans plot to leapfrog Speaker Johnson on spending fight as Democrats threaten to shut down the government. We have had, and like I said, doesn't matter whether you're Republican or you're Democrat, this is a big battle that always comes about. It kind of makes sense for you to become your own central banker, doesn't it? If we have to take steps to be able to hold them accountable, use the leverage that we have to force it, I cannot support efforts that will continue this lawlessness. That's an opinion. I'm not going there. But the point is if we have to take steps to be able to hold them accountable and use that leverage, we have to force it. And so can you sit there and guarantee me that there isn't going to be a government shutdown? Doesn't really end up saving money. It ends up actually costing a whole lot more. But I think that the Democrats are going to be using this tool. And we're 1 month from a government shutdown. The talks are a mess. Is anybody surprised about that? Because I'm sure not. Republicans may end up needing a bailout from Democratic lawmakers before March 14th. That gives Democrats their first real leverage in Trump's second term. Can you see this problem brewing? I'm not making a personal opinion about any of this. I'm just saying that when you have this much contention, that accidents can and do happen. So get to safety. If you have not yet gotten your sound money strategy in place and executed, get it done ASAP, because this isn't going to get any better. And I'm not just talking about the looming debt ceiling. I'm talking about a lot of moving parts going on out there. Depending upon what second of the day you read something, there's a lot that's going on. But keeping the establishment perpetually off balance may well be the prevailing vibe over the next 4 years. And I think that that is exactly what we're going to see, which means a whole lot more volatility and a whole lot more chance for an error in judgment to take place. And how about those unintended consequences to rear their ugly heads? Never has it been more important for you to make sure that you have security in all of the mantra: food, water, energy, security, barterability, which we know for me is primarily silver, wealth preservation, community, arguably the single most important part of this, and shelter. We need to take these matters into our own individual hands, come together in local community to help us create that security that we need no matter what we're doing. And what are the central banks doing for it? Well, they bought $96 billion worth of gold in 2024. The demand surge pushed total gold purchases to a record 4,974 tons, even as jewelry consumption declined due to rising prices. Central banks have now been net buyers for 15 years, because that's when the system really died, was 2008. That's not what's coming up. That already happened. That's why I became a prepper. So keep in mind, I think the biggest surprise on the demand side is the fact that the central banks bought 1,000 tons last year. There's been broad-based central bank buying, and more than we estimated at the beginning of the year. The central banks are preparing for a major global crisis because they know we're at the end of this game, that there are limitations on how much of this. And by the way, when they're doing this, it doesn't work. Look at Japan. Japan's been doing it since the 90s. And where are they? No better off than they were when they started, except that things are a whole lot more expensive. Make sure that you have that really, really solid foundation.
This is your fairy gold mother, and I want to show you the difference between real money and fake money. Let's start with a dollar bill. This was created to mimic this. Can you see how tiny it is? But today you can buy 3 cents. Well, guess how much this is? If you want to buy it today, it's $460. This is fake money that was created to mimic this. This is a $5 gold coin. And guess what? If you wanted to buy that today, it's $719. This is a $10 bill. It's actually legal tender. In other words, you can take this to the store and use it. It was created to mimic this. And today's retail price is $1,369, $1,369. And how about this one? You can take this to the store. I'm not sure you can buy that much with it. And you certainly can't buy this $20 gold piece. If you were buying this one today, it'd be $2,694. This holds your purchasing power. This destroys your purchasing power. This is in your control. This is in their control. Which would you rather have?
Make sure that you have that really, really solid foundation. It kind of makes sense for you to become your own central banker, doesn't it? been more important for you to make sure that you have security in all of the mantra? Food, water, energy, security, barterability, which we know for me is primarily silver, wealth preservation, community, arguably the single most important part of this, and shelter. We need to take these matters into our own individual hands